many of you know a great deal about autism, but some don't. And like many, although I've been associated with it, I struggle to capture in a few words what it's about, but I'm going to have a go. I think it's important to understand. Just imagine an alien world in which very little is recognizable. You feel constantly threatened. Faces are impenetrable masks. You're frightened, and the faces can also be devoid of meaning. You don't understand where you fit. You're a square peg in a round hole. You're constantly being crammed into other people's space. Your sensory, your communication, your thought processes which work seem to be at odds with other people. And as fear defines your world, you resort to ritual and to repetition, or you simply go back into your own lonely world. For me, fear is the constant. And it doesn't just pass. It's not just a bad night's sleep. It goes on. Now, it's not a small, isolated problem. As we know, there's over 500,000, and indeed growing. The truth is, we don't know the numbers. And indeed, the NAO report, the GPs are talking about a large number going through their surgeries undiagnosed. But what we do know is that it has a huge human cost. It starts with families not knowing where to turn after diagnosis and going through many loops in order to get any sort of support. At school, there's a huge amount of bullying, and that has devastating effects on people later in life. And the problems really start as people go into adulthood. They get lost, and you just ask the parents. Now, lack of support we are going to be talking about. And I know there are service organizations here who will feel this is a criticism. I would just set this in context, because I believe the heart of the problem is our lack of understanding, our lack of knowledge. We're in very early days of understanding. As the spectrum broadens, more people are brought into the spectrum. Indeed, Asperger's was only brought to our notice by Lorna Wing in the early 90s, not long ago. And not only is it a broad spectrum, but it's also a hidden disability, both physically and intellectually. And as with many disabled people, if you classify them as disabled, they bring wonderful strengths. I know from personal experience. And many question, why do we need a cure? My final point is to invoke a call for action. I've been involved in many charities, but this is the most urgent. Why? I think first of all there's the human need. Life is short. We can't leave families continuing to try to muddle through, which is what's going on. We can't leave so many adults continuing to live in isolation and despair, not able to contribute. We can't leave service organizations and statutory bodies not really knowing what works and what doesn't work. There's the economic need. Given the constraints that lie ahead, economic resources must be put to best use. And we're going to have a real fight to get the appropriate resources. But finally, there's the moral need. There's all of us and all people out there. History shows that societies make seismic shifts forward, and our society, I believe, needs a moral shift when the neglected minorities are brought into the fold. And to quote the deft words of Lincoln, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. So I call on us to bring this isolated community in out of the cold. We in Research Autism are excited and determined to play our part, and I hope we all will. And thank you very much indeed.